and they're putting it at a price tag of $4,999 prediction-wise. My God. We talk Sony camera predictions for 2022. Stay tuned. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's that one camera guy. Happy New Year. Today, I'm just going over, a discussion video, a little bit of a fun topic, discussing the potential camera predictions for 2022. I'm sort of piggybacking off of the Sony cameras that were listed in Tony and Chelsea Northrup's video. They went over a variety of different cameras they were predicting from other models, but we're going to go over the ones that were discussed about Sony. They got the Sony A5, the A9III, the A7RV, as well as a lens that they listed as well, potentially coming out in 2022. We already know there's this chip shortage going around the world. We're starting to see Sony slow down and even halt the production of some of their camera bodies, in particular Sony APS-C. So it's very interesting to see what may even come out next year. We may not even see very many, maybe just one of these cameras appear in the wild going into 2022. But definitely would like to hear your input down below as we kind of go over the different cameras as far as your predictions and what you would like to see. Remember, folks, this is just for fun. Obviously, everyone's needs are different. We're just kind of talking and having a good time. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one they went over, which is the Sony A5. Their predictions and I guess what rumors have already speculated, I guess in this case, 24 megapixels, 5 frames per second, flip screen, 4K 30p cropped, so no 4K 60, one SD card slot at $1,200 US. Now, at first, I really wasn't sure how to see if this camera was going to even exist. Maybe it's a camera that could happen, but because of the nature of the situation that we're in as far as slowdowns, because I think the A7C is one of the cameras, as well as the A7 II, that are seeing a slowdown in terms of production, that maybe a low-end camera isn't their approach. And something the Northrups even pointed out was that it seems as if these manufacturers are trying to target that higher end market, and that might be the case in terms of just the profit margins that go into it. And so I don't know if it would make sense to bring in a lower end camera, because they still have the A7 III. I didn't see anything with regards to lowering production on the A7 III in particular, unless I missed something. So people can still reach out for that. But I get it, a camera that's kind of at that lower price point. There could also be the fact that maybe they moved the A7 II out of the way so they had production materials available and resources to put towards an A5. And so let's look at it. Now, I know that RP is around $1,000. I'm not really sure on the Nikon side of things what they have on their competitive side. But honestly, in my personal opinion, if the features that are there, if it had modern features, they updated it with all of the new bells and whistles, the better autofocusing system, touchscreen, maybe a slightly better, hopefully it's in the UHS-2 card, so a good fast card slot, the flip screen, the 10, like all those other aspects of it. 5 frames per second seems kind of a buzzkill there. It should just be a 10 frames per second camera at that point. I think it could be a worthy option but man, the A7C is kind of in a weird spot too, because it has the flip out screen as well. I don't really know how to position it. It just seems like a strange camera to exist. I would have imagined had they just brought the price down of the A7C, but who knows? Maybe the issue is slow down to A7 II, A7C, move all the resources and bring out a lower, more cost-effective full-frame camera. I just don't know. I don't know if I personally would be interested in, like I said, the only thing that would pique my interest is if it had the newer, modern, and they just updated all the other aspects of it, like the A7 IV has in terms of feature specs. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below if the A5 is something you'd be willing to consider picking up, or just getting an A7 III or A7C. They're still out there. They haven't just completely disappeared off the market. The next camera that really excites me potentially is the Sony A9III. And this one I was a little unsure about when they first were talking about it, but then it slowly started to make sense. So they predict 24 megapixels, 30 frames per second, a tilt screen. I kind of want to see a fully articulating screen, but that's just my personal opinion. 4K 60p, and they're putting it at a price tag of $4,999 prediction-wise. My God, that is really up there. This camera model is already expensive already. And imagining a bump in $500, again, chip shortage, inflation, all these other things impacting prices worldwide, I get it. But man, $5,000 for that camera, that's going to be insane. So let's go ahead and break this down. At first I said 30 frames per second. I was like, the A1's already doing that. Why would they put 30 FPS in this? I'd imagine either 20 to 25 or some weird number in between. I think the 4K 60p, we're probably going to get 4K 120. And if Sony decides not to put the picture profiles in the A9 series this time, it's going to be really awkward, in my opinion. Um, I really do. I'm assuming they're going to bring in all your other flavors of picture profiles, S-Cinetone, and I think they should bump that up to 4K 120 at this point, because the selling point for the A1 is the 8K video. I mean, don't you think that? So 24 megapixels, 30 frames per second, tilt screen. I'm hoping for a flip out screen, but to each their own on that choice there. 4K 120, I say personally up to 4K 120. And I really hope they can keep the price at $4,500 US dollars. That's already a pretty steep price. And, you know, I would say $4,500 I would consider at that point, and just forget about the A1 at this point. I would really like an A1, but man, it's really out there. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around price point. So why does this seem believable at this point? Because at first I was like, I don't know. I really don't know. And then they mentioned the EOS R3. I totally forgot about the EOS R3 in the conversation, because the R3 is not Canon's flagship mirrorless camera. It is not. They will have an R1 at some point. So it would make sense to bring out a camera that could match up with the R3. But what's weird is that Sony seems to they're kind of lagging a little bit behind the competition as of late. So that's the reason why I'm a little apprehensive as far as whether or not we're going to get some of these bells and whistles that they're kind of throwing out there. But if they can nail the 30 frames per second, they can get all these feature specs on there. 4K 60 to 120p, 10-bit 422, all that good stuff. I think it's going to be a really compelling option for people that want that. Like I would be one of those customers. I don't know about you though. But yeah, with the R3 on the other end of the spectrum here, I could see the competition happening and them potentially doing that. But considering Sony's track record right now, I don't know. I really don't know. I think, sad to say, they might stay with 20 frames per second on the camera. That's just my thought process on it. Let me know down below what you think. All right, moving on to our last camera here. It's the Sony A7R5. Can you believe that we could maybe see an A7R5 at this point, already on the 5th iteration of that camera? There's just so many of them. So they're saying, prediction-wise, 60 megapixels, 10, maybe 20 frames per second, flip screen, 8K 30, 4K 120, 4,000 US dollars. So then, this was another one of those cameras where I looked and I said, this is impossible. I doubt we're going to see this. I know we're probably going to see at least 60 megapixels, if not something crazier. 10 frames per second for sure, but they put the slash in the 20, and I said, maybe? And then flip screen, that's got to be the trend going forward. Again, it's a mixed bag, I get it. 8K was something I wasn't sure about initially, but then they brought up the fact that the EOS R5, and I said, oh, that makes perfect sense, because you're bringing in this camera, and we have the EOS R5 now. Really great feature spec, and 20 frames per second. It's got the 8K video, and it's gotten better and better with some of their firmware updates from what I understand at this point. And it made sense. I said, okay, so the A7R5 would kind of sit side by side with it and kind of compete with the EOS R5. And so everything I started seeing started to become more believable. Maybe they can hit 20 frames per second on a camera like this, because that'd be insane. This could be the reason, hey, get CF Express Type A cards. You want to be able to shoot 20 FPS at these massive megapixel ranges. That could be a great way to get people invested in that system, in those cards. Flip out screen again for the video folks. At first, I wasn't sure about 8K video, but then again, the R5 already has that, and Sony's been able to pull off the 8K recording with their A1, so this is right up their alley. If they can bring that in, I don't know. Think about this. $4,000, I can see that. Like, I can stomach that bump. See, this is the way I would look at this. I can see the bump to that over the A9 Mark III, in my opinion. So if they go from like 3,500 all the way to 4,000, I could see it being worth taking a look at for this particular camera at that price point if it goes up. Again, obviously we don't want the prices to go up. Okay, I'm not dumb, but just looking at that at 4,000 US dollars, it's insane. So it becomes an issue of, just wrapping my head around. I'm just talking about for myself, by the way, between an A9 Mark III and an A7R5, which one would appeal to me more. In this case, the A7R5 might appeal to me more if they can hit the 20 FPS. So if they can hit the 20 FPS, I mean, I got an R3 and an R4, I can unload and move my way to the R5. And then again, let me know your thoughts on that. Do you see that R5 even potentially having that? So it's going to be exciting if we see anything like that. The next thing they did finalize with was the lens, which is the Sony 85 f1.2. Seems like f1.2 is kind of what's hot right now. We got the Sony 50 f1.2, and I think it's time for Sony to kind of bring out some other options, right? Bring faster options for their base. And then they didn't mention this, but I would like to see the 2470 Mark II happen for the G Master. I don't know about you. I don't know what your opinion is on this, but I would like to see a non telescoping or extending 2470. I don't know. I've been kind of in a. I would like to see one. I don't think it'll happen. I don't know if Nikon ever had one of those. Maybe they did, where a 2470 just didn't barrel extend out. Just something that interests me. But if they could make a 2470 of 2.8, a bit lighter, better, faster autofocusing, just like they did with the other one with the 7200 Mark II, I think it's going to be a great option there. Anyway, folks, that is the speculations or predictions for 2022. Let me know your thoughts down below on these cameras. Would love to know your thoughts on it too as well. What you think might happen and which ones you are actually excited about, or generally just waiting for an A7 IV. Who knows? That's going to do it for me, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other content. I'll see you later, and Happy New Year.